play an open for our good friend?
He deserves one.
Let's play an open for our good friend.
Touchdown! San Francisco!
He has nearly 40 years of broadcasting in Northern California.
Wow.
Voice of the San Francisco 49ers, Greg Papa. Sponsored by Sunpoint Public Adjusters, the gold standard of the public adjusting industry.
I was watching a clip on Twitter earlier this week from, I guess, kind of a competing station,
Yeah,
but
but
we
this
put
was
all
a
that away for
great
this.
clip.
I think this is the first time I've ever retweeted another radio station's clip, but how could you not? As Bob Sargent, who is the head of all things 49er broadcasting, called into Greg Papa's show, and I will be honest, his partner kind of stepped on Bob at first, and I was getting a little annoyed, but then Bob came in and he dropped the hammer that the Niners have had all kinds of injuries this year. One we don't talk about enough, none bigger than Mr. Greg Papa being on the IR, but he has been activated for the final 2 games of the season. What do you want for Christmas? Nothing. I already got that Christmas present. Greg Papa, good morning, friend. Oh, Greg?
I was going to send them your way, but well, I haven't been activated yet.
Okay.
They've opened my practice window.
Okay.
Are you in the portal?
So I got some work to do. I'm gonna kind of mock broadcast the game Monday while the Niners are in Indianapolis. But it's something, in all honesty, that Sarge and I have been talking about. It really ever since my bone marrow transplant was delayed, and I started to feel better physically and mentally, where I could do it right around Thanksgiving. I started to feel better. And if the bone marrow transplant had happened in mid-November, obviously I'd be in heavy duty rehab mode right now, probably still in the hospital. And there wasn't even a possibility. I did get good news. I also had an echocardiogram, and I met my hematologist, Dr. Aaron Logan at UCSF. My heart is getting better.
Good.
So I think we can put that on the docket. So I told Sarge, I think I could come back for the playoffs. And he said, well, let me throw this at you. Our last 2 games are home games. Do you think you could come back and do those? And I thought, yeah, I think I can do those. So let me wait. I had this meeting on December the 16th, which was exactly 5 months to the day that I was first diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And Dr. Lowe, we went through the whole thing, and I didn't bring it up at all. There's much more important things to get to. At the very end, I said to him, do you know what I do for a living? He goes, yeah, I got to have an idea. A few people have mentioned it to me. He's not a big sports fan, but great guy, great leader, big heart. Anyway, I said, do you think I could go back and, because he cleared me to do my radio show September the 16th, which was exactly 2 months after my diagnosis. But it was, in-home studio, can't leave the yard, you're the boy in a bubble until your numbers get better. But my blood work, my labs are all in the green now, all the significant ones. So I have been out and about a little bit more, and I haven't been on the hardcore chemo in the PICC line since the last infusion was October the 13th. So it's been a while. So I just feel like myself, and he said, there's no reason why you could not do it. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the green light. He goes, now we're going to have to recheck it. I'm going back in on Monday to get back on the immunotherapy Blina. So I'll be actually getting infused 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I'll be getting it right during the games that I do, both on the 28th of December, the Sunday after Christmas, in a big game against the Bears, and then what's shaping up to be a humongous game sometime in early January. Who knows? That may be on Sunday Night Football as well, with the annual battle with Seattle, which could decide not only the West, but who was the number 1 seed in the NFC and who gets the bye, and where the home games are leading to the Super Bowl. So it's all falling into place well. So he gave me the green light to go ahead and do it. He said I could even travel as long as my blood work is good. But we don't want to travel. We want to stay home, and that's why last night's game was so amazing. So, as I said, I felt like, and I feel like physically and mentally I can do this until I watched last night's football game. And honestly, I get pretty worked up when I broadcast a game. And I get pretty worked up when I watch some games. And I get worked up. I'm from Buffalo, and I get worked up when the Bills are playing this year when I can watch them all start to finish. But that game last night and the ending in that game in which Sam Darnold was able to put aside just a horrific performance to come back and win that football game on a 2-point conversion to another former 49er tight end, Eric Saubert, it was just so important for the Seahawks to win that game, to give the 49ers a chance to win the West, be the number 1 seed, and all of that. And selfishly, I think the Niners can go on the road and win a playoff game, but that bye is significant to heal up. They just had one, obviously late in the year, week 14. If they get another one going into the playoffs, and then you just have to win 2 home. Now, it's going to be, great teams you're going to have to deal with, the very best in the conference. But it is an advantage. But I also, if my blood work goes the other way, maybe I'm cleared to do home games, but I can't go on the road at all. So it was important for the football team, and it was important for me to try to stay home for January all the way to February the 8th. But I got to tell you, when the game ended last night, I got a little dizzy. I got like, whoa, what's happening to me? So I had to sit down for a while after the game, and it just hit me. So I always broadcast football games standing up. I don't even really sit in the commercials. I stand just about the entire game. I think I'll be sitting in the commercials for my return, and then maybe I'll have to do some plays and moments sitting down. Last night, I don't know how you guys felt watching that game. It felt like the Niners were playing the football game. It was that important for our fate. And the whole thing, and me personally, and the team as well. So I think I can do it. But if we get a game like that, 30. But if we get like a big play, Dre Greenlaw tackle against Jacob Hollister, like in the battle in Seattle late in 2019, we get a game like that, or a comeback against the Packers in the playoffs a couple of years ago, or even more dramatic, the comeback against the Lions in the championship game when we were down 24-7 at halftime. You may have to just get a gurney to get me out of the stadium, and hopefully I'll be able to finish the broadcast. But the plan is that I am physically, mentally, spiritually strong enough to do this, and I'm going to give it a try. So I'm back.
Oh, man. Greg, it's just such great news. And Dave and I talked about it earlier. First and foremost, the best news is that your health. And even hearing the bonus about your heart getting better, too, that's encouraging for a future outlook for you on that. But, the Seahawks win. The Niners could be at home all the way through. It just feels like it's meant to be, Greg. So we're hoping for all that, but I want to get back to the game from last night and the 2-point conversions, the multiple ones. But have you, in all the years you've called games, seen anything quite like the one that was ultimately ruled a lateral and then just grabbed casually by Charbonnet, who's in the end zone later? 2-point conversion. That was one of the strangest plays I've ever seen.
It was, without a doubt, one of the strangest plays that has ever gone on. Can you guys hear me properly? I'm having a hard time getting up Chase's mic there, but are you guys hearing me fine?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear.
All right. Well, I thought that Clint Kubiak called that smoke screen way too much the entire game. He was calling that, where he put 3 receivers in a bunch formation on one side, and then 2. Sometimes it was a running back like Charbonnet. Sometimes they were trying to get the ball to Jackson Smith and Jigba. But the Rams were on that. Their guys were flying up, and their ends are flying up, and that play wasn't working. One time he ran that play back-to-back. He ran it once going left, the other time going right. I'm like, seriously? I know Sam's a little squeamish when he threw the near pick 6, and then, when the big lineman dropped out and zone blitzed him. But he can throw the ball more than, minus 2 yards in the line of scrimmage. So let's not run that play anymore. Whether he ran it on the 2-point conversion. So to answer your question, I've never seen it. I'm going to, Mike Pereira, has he ever seen it? I mean, it's just an unbelievable play. And it was backwards. You could see that. And the ball was never recovered. And the way Charbonnet, who was the intended receiver on that play, just kind of went in the end zone and picked the ball up nonchalantly. I'm not even sure he knew what he was doing. But that's the smart play, just to play. And there was a whistle there. And the fact that you overturned that, it changed the call. How many minutes was it? 4 or 5 minutes after it looked like it was 30-28. They said, upon further review, and the expedited review is supposed to handle that a little quicker. but it was a natural pause in the game. So no, I tell me anybody who's ever seen a play like that. Has there ever been one like that? I mean, first of all, we didn't have the 2-point conversion until relatively recently in the NFL. And what I thought was strange was, so going into the game, we needed, and it was hard to root for Seattle. So I wasn't rooting for Seattle so much. I wanted the Rams to lose the game.
Right.
So it was beat LA.
Yeah.
And there's a difference there, because I don't think the better team won the game last night.
Agreed.
I think the Rams were clearly the better. They had 500 yards of total offense, and they were a +3 in the turnover battle. No one's ever lost a game like that. But going into the game, and I know this is hard for coaches sometimes, the mindset for the Rams had to be, if we tie this game, we win, because we are ahead of them right now. So if we just come out of this with a push, then Seattle's still behind us. We're still in first place. We're still the number 1 seed in the NFC. I mean, ultimately it could screw them up later on. But for right now, to me, the Rams needed to think about a tie. So when Puka Nacua, and what a day he had yesterday, and that little dance that live streamer did, that is so disgustingly insulting.
Yeah.
To not just one segment of our society, but all segments. That dance and what he carried out there is just revolting. Cannot be allowed in any form. We need more, governmental influence on what happens. We can't say whatever we want to say, or I would never say something like that or do, but we can't just, radio and television.
Then he went out and questioned the refs after the game. He deleted a tweet.
I don't even care about that. That's football. What he said and what he got talked to during the day, it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's a hell of a football player. I mean, he went off last night. But when he scored on that post route, the touchdown in overtime, my initial thought is Sean McVay needs to go for 2 here. That way, the Seattle Seahawks can come back and tie the game. They're probably going to run out of time, and the Rams are going to get the ball back. But if they go for 2, they go up 9 in that situation. And they go up 8 in that situation, and all Seattle can do is tie them, which from the Rams' perspective is still a win. But by kicking the extra point, they allowed Seattle. Seattle was obviously going to go for 2 if they scored, because they could not accept a tie. They needed to come out of it with a win. And that's from the Niner perspective. We didn't want to tie. We wanted a win for the Seattle Seahawks only. So coaches are so aggressive going forward on 4th down, and Sean was early in the game, and they're so aggressive going forward on 2-pointers. I don't get why you want to go up a number that's going to be a big disadvantage for your opponents. The lead in that situation needed to be 8 points, not 7, where a touchdown of a 2-point conversion can beat you. At that point, you play for a tie. Plus, he's so aggressive, and they're so great at going forward on 2 because they can run it out of 13 personnel. They can throw it to Puka. They got so many different ways they can go. And I also think coaches, especially when you get in the fourth quarter, if you have a 1-point lead and you score a touchdown to go up 7, you want to go up. You want to go for 2 in that situation and make it 9. Now it's a 2-score lead. By and large, I've seen it so many times. I remember John Fox years ago did it, and it wound up costing him a game because he went up 8. He just took the 7, and they wound up being tied, and they lost in overtime. You want to be up 9 in that situation, give yourself an extra possession. And in this situation, the Rams, needed to be satisfied with a tie. They didn't want to lose that game, and they opened it up for them to lose. So, but beyond that, it was the wildest game ever. Seattle special teams, Rashid Shaheed's punt return was incredible, thicker than kicker. And I just thought going into the game, how does Seattle do this? They're better on special teams. They've been all year. The Rams have gone through kickers and long snappers and that big. He looks like Sebastian Janikowski, doesn't he, after a weekend bender? That guy, Dicker, the kicker.
Yeah.
And he missed that field goal. It was going left upright, and it wound up just drifting all the way across it and missed wide right. It's like, what happened there? But Shaheed's punt return was obviously a huge play to get them back into the game. But Somebody's got to beat the LA Rams. I think the 49ers can do it, but there are times that they are just so much better than every other team. And I thought Seattle was there. Seattle did figure out their defense later on last night. They wound up stopping them 5 straight possessions in the fourth quarter after they got down by 16 points at 30-14 before the punt return. But that game was incredible. It wore me out. I needed sedatives after the game. I took a nap. I mean, that one, wow. And now it is set up. That's a big night for the 49ers, just watching that game. Now it is set up. We need, since you and I, the three of us talked last week, we needed Green Bay to lose a game.
Yep.
They did lose in Denver, a hell of a shootout, back and forth, but they also lost Micah Parsons. And we needed Seattle to beat the Rams, and that happened barely last night. I'm not sure how. And now it's on the 49ers. They control their own destiny now. They win these last 3 games. They will not only win the NFC West again, they will be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Don't play a wild card weekend, and then just have to win 2 home games, divisional championship game, and then they host the Super Bowl. And we may get a certain linebacker back as well sometime in those 2 playoff runs. Probably more likely for the championship game than the divisional. But I know Fred Warner is planning his own comeback as well.
Greg Papa with us. It's funny. They ran a graphic towards the end of this game, and I took a picture of it. Here's just some quick numbers on the probability. The Rams had at one point a 94% win probability. They were 323-1. This is the graphic Amazon ran. 323-1 when leading by 15 or more in the fourth quarter. The Seahawks were 0-172 when losing by 15 or more in the fourth quarter. By the way, that one Rams loss, that was to the 49ers about 20 years ago. Since 1975, teams with 400 or more yards, 0 giveaways, 0 sacks taken, and 3 or more takeaways, they're undefeated, 79-0. All that had to happen, plus their kicker hadn't missed a kick all year like we talked about. That's why we watch the games, and I'd say, Greg, it's funny. I don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. But all those years where I watched the Niners and was like, Baltimore, whomever, thinking this team's a juggernaut. They're going to win the whole thing. And then, of course, we get disappointed. If you had told me, or I had told you, Greg, before the season started, first and foremost, that for hopefully all but 2 games of the season, they were going to lose their legendary play-by-play voice. Now let's add in a few things. They lose Fred Warner. They lose Nick Bosa. They lose their quarterback for just about exactly half the season. And we're sitting here with 3 games left. I'm sorry. They play in a 4-team division, and 2 of those teams are almost certainly going to have 13 wins, and they control their own destiny with 3 games left. What a season we're dealing with right now.
And even take it back to the offseason.
Yeah.
The date was March the 10th. And it was the start of the new league year, and they call it legal tampering. And then you can actually sign guys to a contract on March 12th. But March the 10th is when it starts and guys start doing deals. And I was depressed. I remember at the end of my radio show, and I knew it was coming to some degree, but when it's just one guy after the other leaves the building, you're like, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
And then when Dre Greenlaw wound up going to Denver, and I know John and Kyle flew to him in the offseason, tried to talk him out of it, but they couldn't reverse it. And then Kyle Juszczyk almost left. That's where I was like, what?
Yeah.
Nobody values Kyle Juszczyk more than Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers. 2/3 of the league don't even have a fullback, and he's not a fullback. He's an offensive weapon. He lines up everywhere. So when that all went down, it was like, whoa, how are you going to do this? And, what was their response? And Luke Farrell's a good player. But they didn't sign too many players back in free agency. They wound up signing their own. They got Bryce Huff later in the offseason. They drafted well, but they signed their own. They rewarded, Fred and George and Brock. And then what happens? All 3 guys get hurt and miss major chunks of the year. And Fred, I go back to when we lost in Tampa Bay, and Fred had a gruesome ankle injury, which he's been talking about more. His foot was pointing in the wrong direction. Whoever thought the Niners would be in the position they're in now? So this year has been the most improbable year, certainly with John and Kyle together. You tell me, when they won Super Bowl 16 and came out of nowhere to win that first one for Bill Walsh, it really hasn't been. Maybe the first year, 2019, when we got to the Super Bowl, when the year before Jimmy tore his ACL in Kansas City, and we drafted Nick Bosa and Debo in the second round, and then got Dre later. But when you look at how, financially where the offseason went, whether you want to call it a reset or a restructure or whatever it is, refinancing, and you just lost so many great players out of the building. And who knows, two of them may come into play in the Super Bowl, and Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga, where you lost so many guys. So the whole thing. And then the season started, and you detailed all the injuries, what they've been able to overcome. This would be the most incredible season, I think, in Bay Area sports, where someone has risen like this. The Warriors kind of gave us a hint with a couple of playoff runs. The A's made the playoffs in 71 before they won in 72, 73, 74. You don't just come out of nowhere. The Giants were a good team in 09 before they won in 10. The Niners have been a dominant team for a long period, but it wasn't last year, and their best players were hurt and expensive, and they lost a lot of their better players, great players, because they got hurt, and they got to be too expensive. So we'll see. They got to win these last three, and then win three more, maybe all at Levi's to win the Super Bowl. But if they are able to pull this off, this would be one of the greatest Cinderella stories, improbable stories, however you want to label it, in the history of certainly Bay Area sport. And we'd look into it. But maybe the Warriors winning the title in 74, 75 was pretty shocking that year. So that one may be the most improbable, but this one would be right there.
Greg Papa joining us, and we are off to the Christmas and New Year holiday. Greg, it has been amazing, and whether you're there the last two or not, the fact that that's even you're kind of like the voice version of Fred Warner. Like when everybody heard the diagnosis, they were like, "Yeah, no chance, of course." And then now all of a sudden, your window's open. You guys are both working out probably together. You might both be back. We love you more than life itself, and we're so happy to have you each and every Friday. And I'm sure we'll be talking during the holiday. But much love to your family, and of course you.
Without question. And we've been close for years, and Jason. But the first spot that I told my story in detail was with you guys. I think right before that season opener in Seattle, and I was going in for chemotherapy. That was the first cycle I was going to have. So there was a conflict. And coming back to do even my radio show, certainly not doing games. I was told immediately, you can't travel for a year. You can't drive a car for a year. You're not going anywhere. So when that hit, I never even thought about it. So in 2 months' time, I was back on the radio show, and 5 months' time, Aaron Logan, my hematologist, gave me the green light to come back. And I've shared it all with you. We've cried together. I am going to miss you guys, though. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. So when is the regular season going to be over by the time we come back and chat again?
I think we might have one
more game. Yeah, because we'll be back.
One more game.
Yeah,
got it.
But we're gonna be sending pics and texting, and we'll have our group chat
Reach
going.
out. I'm here.
All right.
I'm here.
Thanks, Greg.
But you're not getting any Gucci Dotties, David. You said you got what you wanted for Christmas in my return. So I'm going to go sugar load on that one. So love you guys.
Love you too.
Guys.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. That was the wonderful Greg Papa. We're late for a break. When we come back, what's on deck? We will do celebrity birthdays.
And our
celebrity pick six. And I still don't know who it is.
Yep.
All coming up next. You can feel the energy in the room, just like you can feel the plumbing issues in your house. What?